Imperfect Gentleman Show.
Here's going to be the most awkward transition of all time, because now we're going to have to get into something very heavy.
Yeah.
Especially being that you are a Las Vegas resident.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the events of this past Sunday in Las Vegas with Stephen Paddock, who is now known as the Las Vegas shooter, opened fired from the Mandalay Bay Hotel, injuring over 50 people. I mean, killing over 50 people and injuring over 500 with automatic weapons.
I think it's up to over 600 now injured.
I'm sure people were injured even by just being there, trampled on, stepped on in the run out of the country music festival that they were all partaking in that was going on down below. How do you feel about the Las Vegas shooting? I mean, obviously it's a tragedy, but as a Vegas resident.
Yeah. It's crazy because I just moved from Nebraska in February to Vegas. And so I'm always, not always, I guess, but sometimes I like going down on the Strip. It's always a good time. And so for that whole shooting to have like these people wanting to go out and have a good time. And like I said, I'm from Nebraska. I listen to country music. That's something that like I was in LA luckily, but that is definitely something that I would go to. I've gone to Country Stampede. I've gone to all these other like country things. There was one in Colorado where it was a bunch of country singers. So I can't imagine being at an event like that and having something like that going on where you're drinking and you don't know what's going on. Like like I would be wasted at this concert, and then having something like that, like it just freaks me out. And my cousin was just scared because she thought I was there, and because that is something I would be at. But yeah, I don't understand how somebody has the mentality to do something like that.
And I always say there's no cure for crazy, and that's not a knock at mental health at all.
Right.
This is like crazy when it's just evil, when it's just there's a lot of mentally unstable people in the world, but to be crazy means that you act on an impulse that just goes beyond that. Just an evil impulse.
It sort of is weird because everyone, like with the Black Lives Matter stuff, they're always like white people are like after black people and all this stuff, but it even shows like for stuff like this white guy went after like country, like the
people he knew were going to be white, because even when I was like, I hope my family and friends were safe, family and friends are safe, I'm like, nigga, nobody I know is in this bitch. Like, if they shot at a rap concert, them niggas would have shot back. Like, it would have been. But that's the thing, is the concept is
it's anyone
anyone
people
can
are
be
killing
evil.
People. That's it. It doesn't matter about your color. It doesn't matter about any, like it's this white person just killed a bunch of white people. That was it. Like,
yeah, the scarier part for me absorbing all this is it inevitable that it's going to happen again? And is this ever going to stop for good? And I try and sit there and think of ways that it can be stopped. And honestly, how do you stop this? How do you stop this? The neighbors of this guy were saying that he seemed to be perfectly normal. The brother said he was
They always say that.
blindsided.
They always say, see, this is, okay, so you brought up something about Black Lives Matter. And let me clarify something. It's not the fact that black people feel that white people don't get killed. That's not the concept. It's the fact that black people feel they're getting pulled over more and unfairly, and that this guy would have just never been pulled over. The reason he was even able to bring so many guns in is just no one looked at him and went, oh, this guy could be dangerous. But if this was Jamal Paddock, he would have already been arrested as soon as he got to the stop sign. That's why there are no black serial killers. They get pulled over so often that it's just like before they can even commit the crime.
For that, I don't think it's about the bags or anything, because even if you go into a hotel, like I have shot like pornos in hotel rooms, and it's like, we're bringing fucking...
Allegedly. We don't want anyone trying you again. You've already got enough trouble for trespassing and lewd photos and all that.
But we take in like black bags, big black bags, just tons of them. Like, and there's like black camera guys with me that are bringing all this shit in. Like, no one looks at us like no one thinks that you're going to bring in like 30 rifles up to your fucking hotel room.
Crazy is crazy.
Yeah.
But we've seen in the past where here's another concept is, and a lot of people are pointing this out, is all of a sudden he lived a quiet life. He loved gambling, loved music. Well, I have a question. What did the 9/11 terrorists like? They never asked them or their family members. So why ask this guy and his family members what did the Muslim guy that shot people in the gay club in Florida like? We don't even know anything about
Right.
his personal life. But this guy, we needed to know about his brother and his estranged relationship and his family members and all these things.
I think
they
because
need that title.
9/11, it was more of like a terrorist act. They knew they didn't like Americans. And with this guy, it was so random that they're trying to figure out like what the fuck made him want to do this. And he was this regular person. He wasn't like so against Americans and all this stuff like the terrorists of 9/11 that were like, let's exterminate Americans.
Sure. But it always seems like when it comes to the white guy, they need to figure out why.
Yeah.
But if it was a black or a brown guy, we already know why. The black guy's a thug, the brown guy's a terrorist, but the white guy, why? There's mental issues. There's something there. And we saw this with Dylan Roof, who went inside a church and killed 9 people, black people, and then they took him to Burger King before they took him to jail. That's, I mean, trust me, I've been arrested and they never took me to Burger King.
Right.
And the concept is that's what the people's problem is. Now, I do want to say this, is that legally, the definition of terrorism federally includes the context or the intent of political, religious, or ideological advancement of some type.
Yeah.
So it's because I think this politically, it's because I think this religiously, or it's because I think this ideologically. Dylan Roof should have been a terrorist. He killed people because he had white supremacy on his mind. This guy, we don't know what he was thinking. People die all the time. Let's cut it, all the emotion out. People die. Do we sit there and mourn when other people die? Sure, this is a horrible way to go, but people do die. We don't sit there and do the same thing with brain cancer and breast cancer and testicle cancer or any of these other afflictions that happen. So it's an unfortunate side effect is I tell the story the way I tell it. That is human nature. Who is the victor? If you ask the hunter, he's the champion. If you ask the lion, then he's the enemy. It just depends on who's telling the story. So a lot of people are like, well, why are we talking politics and gun control? Because this isn't the infection. This is a symptom of the bigger infection. This is a symptom of the disease. The disease is something, whether it's gun control, whether it's mental health, whether it's politics, whether it's human nature, whatever it is, those are things we need to talk about. And if we don't talk about these things, then we'll never cure it. This will keep happening. You will keep getting sick if you never cure the disease.
Yeah. I think with that, just making sure that it doesn't happen to that same person's next daughter or anything else, like getting like the situation.
Jeez.
Like, can you imagine having it happen to another person in your family? I think that's why they jumped to like, hey, we need to fix something so that this shit doesn't happen again.
But we also are like, you know what, as a society, we're kind of already over it because before, I feel like this would have had a bigger impact. I was talking to the comedians Chinadu and Taylor Thomason yesterday in the lobby, and I was like, before this would have had a bigger impact, but social media has put every tragedy in our face to the point where now we're just on to the next one. What's the next thing that's going to happen? So we got over Florida's mass shooting very quickly. Puerto Rico and Houston's, we prayed for them for a day. Now it's this, we care about this for a week, and then what's next?
Yeah.
Something else is going to happen in Mogadishu, and we're all going to know about it and be like, oh my God, not Rwanda.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
it's
well,
also
no, actually,
hard-
it can't be somewhere of color. Not France. That's
Right.
not Europe.
I also almost posted like the Pray for Vegas meme. And then I said, wait, have I sent money? Have I donated blood?
Have I gotten on my knees and prayed? Have I actually, all these people who say pray for Vegas,
yeah, that's
have
a
they
great
actually
point.
prayed
Or are we just...
Right.
in general, or let alone for Vegas?
And I was just thinking in my head, it's a little silly sometimes we get caught up. Are we saying pray for Vegas because we care or we want to show everyone else we're a sympathetic person and we're a
Right.
good person?
Boom.
I think it's
Bars.
hard, especially with social media, because everyone is posting the same thing and the same photo, so it does show like that. But then it's also like these people that see it are like, oh, like
Bring awareness.
everyone wants to see that sort of on social media, that we all come together and we feel for Vegas. You know what I
Yep,
mean?
yep.
It's not like this whole thing where it's like, oh, let's like brush it over and like they're just doing this so that, you know, we seem sympathetic. For me, I like seeing that everyone is posting it and being like, hey, like we need to come together like as the US and be like, this was one of our own, like doing this shit and like we're still here and like we need to like come together. And so I think it's sort of cool to see some people's social media posts and like so many people do sort of care and are showing it. But back to the other thing where it's like, how do you, when you go to the next event that's going to happen, when do you what do you want to see out of this event? Like, what are people supposed to do? Like, just say sorry, and then like donating blood is a good thing, but how far are you supposed to go for people to be like, oh, okay, they really care about this or something? Like, all we can say is like, I'm sorry, what happened. Like, there's nothing else we can do. It's just like, I'm sorry.
And that's really what it comes down to is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are jumping on political bandwagons, and it's, you know, at some point we just have to figure this out as a society, as a group of people. Maybe the best thing to do is to talk about it and have these discussions, not argue, but have debates and talks, conversations. That's why we have this show.